right. Well, welcome everyone, and thanks for joining us for our Quick Wins interview. We have Nancy Bandzuch today from Catholic Sprouts. So, Nancy, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Sure. So we are in the Archdiocese of Minneapolis-St. Paul, and even though it's 70 degrees here today, we've already had 8 inches of snow this season,
Oh
which
my
is
gosh.
ridiculous. But it's like sandal weather today. I don't know. We're all hoping that winter's done, but I don't think we'll be that lucky. So anyway, I live here with my 5 kids and my husband. And yeah, like you said, we've been running the ministry Catholic Sprouts for several years now. We have a daily podcast for Catholic kids called Catholic Sprouts that you can listen to wherever you get your podcasts. So we're really devoted to helping specifically parents find doable ways when we're busy and stressed and our formation wasn't perfect, but doable ways to really build up our own domestic churches. Super passionate about that.
That's awesome. That's wonderful. And what kind of response have you had with parents in your ministry?
Yeah, I mean, what's funny is that the Lord's been gentle with me. I kind of set out in a direction, and he'll kind of slowly unfold to me that he's really wants me, that he's been pulling me in a different direction. So we started Catholic Sprouts, the podcast, and I really thought, oh, this is a ministry for children. But what I realize, and I think all people in ministry for children realize, is that we're really a ministry for parents. It took me about a year to realize, like, wait, this really isn't for kids. This is for parents.
Mm-hmm.
Because, as JP2 says, and, when we read a lot of those beautiful encyclicals on the family, parents are called to be the primary educators of their children, the first heralds of the faith, as the Catechism says. And I have no desire to be that for any other children except for the 5 that I was given, right?
Mm-hmm.
I really want to help parents become the primary educators of their children. So if they use
Sure.
our resources, awesome. If they just see something and it lights a fire under them to do it on their own, awesome. But we made this daily podcast, and I started to hear from parents all the time, like, oh, I'm learning so much, or they'll say something kind of feeling bad, like, my kids don't listen so well, but I get so much out of it, and then I'm able to bring these things up later. And I'm really like, that's perfect, because the reality is that we're dealing with 1 or 2 generations of parents right now with poor formation. Either the formation itself wasn't very good. In my case, it was good, but I feel like I received it poorly,
Mm-hmm.
for all of us that rolled our eyes through CCD and stuff like that. Or, I know a lot of people that have come into the church and maybe they weren't in the right spot to receive the Catholic teaching in RCIA, or it wasn't taught in a way where they received it. So I just think adults need formation. There isn't a lot of really easy to access formation for adults. And, it's a big burden to put on parents to be the primary educators of their children. So I'm really determined to help. So that's everything
Wonderful.
we do.
That's awesome. So what advice would you give to parents right now? This year's been crazy, especially, maybe tell a little bit about your situation in the Midwest, but here on the East Coast, it's been kind of different methods that schools have used going back, whether parents are working remotely or going back. What advice would you give to parents right now who are trying to balance everything, especially faith and home?
Yeah. Be good to yourself. It's been a long year. So in the Midwest, we were, of course, affected by the shutdown and everything like everyone else. But I shouldn't even say this because maybe others will be jealous, but our kids are back in school full time right now. The only really difference is that there's no after school things and they wear face masks. So it's good to be in Minnesota right now. I know that especially on the coast and in big cities, we're not in Minneapolis, we're outside of Minneapolis. But there's lots of complications that we're all facing. I think one of the things, I think we're all kind of just hoping, as time progresses, it will get easier. What I've been thinking about a lot lately is actually how, with the holidays coming up, with Advent, with Thanksgiving, and then Advent and Christmas, I'm really bracing myself for perhaps the hardest part of all of this. Because, you know, even though our kids are back in school, there's not going to be Christmas programs. There's not going to be big family gatherings. You know, just like feeling that hole. And, you know, the holidays are already such an emotional time. And to have this emotion on top of it is going to be hard. I also think, I mean, there's so much that people are dealing with right now. Like, personally, I've lost 3 grandparents this year, you know, not to COVID, but I just think loneliness for the elderly, a lot of people are dealing with loss right now. And then I know my family is dealing with a lot right now, is just like really deep divisions in my family because of the election. I think that Catholic families in particular were really ruptured by this. It was such an emotional election, strong Catholics on both sides. And I know that honestly is going to be a part of our family gatherings. So I just think it's going to be a hard holiday season. And what I really want to tell parents is like, be good to yourself. You know, don't beat yourself up about doing every little thing. But I really want to encourage parents to pick something to do every day of Advent. I think the greatest gift that we can give our families is routine, especially routine when it comes to prayer. And it's hard, you know, we can get really down on ourselves because we forget one day or whatever. Everybody forgets. But just give your family the gift of routine this Advent. And what I'm really encouraging, especially maybe parents that haven't done anything before, you know, traditionally we think about Advent and we think about the Jesse tree, you know, that's kind of the standard Advent countdown. We aren't doing the Jesse tree this year, even though we've done it probably 7 years in a row. But it's just, honestly, it's just too much this year, you know, like all that deep history. And I do love it. I love Old Testament characters, but I just feel this real deep sense to do something lighter this year. You know, the Old Testament can be all of these stories of people not doing what they're supposed to be doing. So, so anyway, if people are just starting out, I have a freebie that we give away on our blog that I really am encouraging people to use. It's called The Names of Jesus Advent Countdown. And I printed it, but you're not going to see what it looks like. But see, there's a picture of Jesus, and then you create, I don't know if you can see it, but see, you create a chain, and it has all of these little names of Jesus, right? You know, the vine, son of the living God, Emmanuel, the truth, root of Jesus, of Jesse. So anyways, you make a chain of those, and then each day of December, you just rip it off. And when my kids were really little, we would do that. And I just think there's something really powerful about countdown to Christmas, wait for Jesus, you know, through the Advent season. And then just what we would do is we would literally rip it off and we would read, you know, like this today is the word. And we would say, Jesus, the word. And then the kids would repeat it. And then we would like stick it on our fridge. So we'd have a big list of the names of Jesus. And that's it. And that's how we kept Advent. You know, I just think, we think that it has to be this whole thing. We have to have handmade ornaments, blah, blah, blah. You don't have to. But just doing that little of something every day can be such a gift to your family, the routine of it.
That's awesome. So, I mean, what would you say are your top 3 picks for Advent, maybe for younger kids and maybe for some families that have some older kids to really delve into Advent this year?
Sure. So for younger kids, for sure, the Names of Jesus Advent printable. I'll send you the link for that so you can share it. Totally free. Just print it, grab some markers, you're good to go. For kids in the middle range, especially if you really want to wait with Jesus. So we put together this booklet. It's called The Nativity Trail this year. And it came out of two things that I had really been drawn to in my personal prayer life. And one is the fact that the Psalms were the prayer book of Jesus, Mary, and Joseph. And this was really hit home to me this year during Lent. I think we've all heard Jesus quote the Psalms from the cross, you know, my God, why have you forsaken me? But this year, as I was meditating on the Passion, it was such a new awareness to me that the Psalms would have been both the way Jesus learned how to pray and how he continued to pray. And that when Joseph and Mary were together, you know, maybe trying to figure out this crazy message that God had brought to both of them, they would have sort of wrestled with that with the words of the Psalm. And of course, the Psalms have been such a fundamental part of the prayer of the church. The liturgy, the hours, which all religious do multiple times a day, is based in the Psalms. So it was both that and then a real desire for my family to journey with Mary and Joseph on what's called the Nativity